Hey, RetconRaider here, and welcome back to episode 45. Now, we've wrapped up our patrol, so we're headed back to Dornan. But on the way there, this happened. The forest is no friend of man, which is why men of ill repute sure love to put their keepsakes there. And today you've stumbled across one. A cache that Vlad Kapesh found by way of stubbing his toe on the edge of it. Digging out the crate and cracking it open, you find an assortment of weapons, armor, and gold. You clap the sellsword on the shoulder and thank him for his hard work. He wags his boot around. "Yes, sir, I've got a toe like the nose of a bloodhound." Now, of course, that didn't net us much. We got a couple of generic items and a small amount of crowns, but we'll take it. Now, we're headed back to Dornan over here. We've still got a bit of a walk ahead of us, but at this point, we really need to take it easy. Several of the men are still recovering from serious injuries, so my current goal is to pass through Eichenberg, head back to Dornan, collect our pay, and then we'll probably head south towards Weedmark and Gronenfest, since I'm fairly certain that at least one of those towns has a temple where we can get these injuries properly treated. Then we'll probably keep an eye out for a slightly easier contract, just so we can give the men some time to recover. And there was nothing of note in Eichenberg, so here we are back in Dornan. Returning to Duke Reimer von Eisenstein, you find the man sitting deeply into an enormous chair, as if he needed all that space to support his nobility, opulence, and pride. You talk about the patrol, how you killed 25 while on the road. Your emphasis is on the kills, as that's what you're being paid for. Duke Reimer von Eisenstein nods and has one of his men throw crowns into a satchel and hand it over. Okay, that earned us a fair amount of coin, and now we can take on a new contract, though. At this point, Dornan only has 3 skull contracts to offer, and I don't think we're quite ready to tackle another one of those just yet. Instead, we'll unload all this loot we just picked up and buy a round of drinks for the men, and then we'll start heading south. And we're back. We're still headed south, and we've still got a bit of a walk ahead of us before we reach Firthwacht. But on the way there, we spotted this small group of brigands on the road. No doubt they were lying in wait of a caravan or some other soft target, but just their bad luck we happened to spot them. They're obviously trying to flee now, but there we go. Looks like we just caught up with them. This should make a nice, easy warm-up battle. And it's always satisfying to take on brigands, not only because we can kill them pretty easily, but because they drop some pretty valuable equipment. Especially if we can harvest that armor. Looks like we've already got one bold brigand charging our line. And here come their marksmen. In fact, that one just threw himself out into the open, so of course we're going to mow him down. That was quick. Wojtek drops an archer, getting our first kill of the battle, and mowing down that raider as well. I think the only real threat we have here is likely to be that marksman in the back there with the crossbow. Most of our men are pretty well armored and have decent defenses, but all it takes is one lucky hit from a crossbow bolt. Which is why we're focusing fire on him now. Potato just put an arrow through his leg. The rest of them are moving up. Looks like they're trying to maintain an orderly line. No doubt we'll start seeing them try to shield wall in a second. Though it is interesting that they're basically abandoning their marksmen. Normally they'd... Nicely done. Rowan just took off a brigand's ear and sent him reeling backwards. Normally they'd be trying to provide cover for their marksmen, but they just don't seem interested in it this time. Sergeant Baggins will lead the charge, and... This seems like it might be a good time to try out the secret weapon I picked up back in New Farn. Normally I don't bother with throwing weapons, but this was pretty cheap. It was about 1,000 gold, so I figured it was worth a shot. Not that we've had much luck with it so far. Let's go ahead and bring Reinhard up. He can start pinning down their shield men. And we'll bring Kazarin up in front of Henry. And Rondis will circle around to I'm actually tempted to have him just charge right into the enemies, but I don't want to block the archer's shots any sooner than I have to. So let's just bring him up here with Gilraen for now. Janos will move up next to Reinhard. And then we'll have Bellefontaine provide cover for the archers for now. Looks like the enemy marksmen are attempting a fighting withdrawal. And our archers are up, so let's start firing into their ranks. Alessandro just landed a pretty solid hit. Wojtek just shot the same unfortunate brigand in the face. And Potato sunk an arrow into his side. The brigands are pointlessly flailing away at our heavily armored men. There you go. The rest of the brigands are trying to shield wall. We'll bring Rowan up to this elevated terrain and let him take a quick shot. And he promptly puts a bolt through a brigand's hand. Now we'll shuffle Sergeant Baggins just slightly closer. Oh, there's the crossbowman. I guess he decided not to withdraw after all. Still no luck with those legendary throwing axes. Let's go ahead and start hemming these guys in. Gilraen comes up around the side and he unleashes his war dog to... Oh, okay, well that's not quite what I was going for. I was hoping it would go after the fleeing archer, but I guess having it on the crossbowman's not a bad idea. Reinhard re-engages his foe, promptly puts his dagger into the man's side. Rondis finally engages, drawing his greatsword as he strides towards his foes. And he lashes out, slicing open one of the brigand's arms. Janos punctures his foe's leg with his dagger, then draws his hammer, and crushes the man's skull with another swing. Looks like that brigand just shield bashed our war dog out of combat. I guess that'll buy their crossbowmen enough time to reload, but not much else. Okay, moving into round 3. The dog promptly re-engages and starts gnashing and biting at the brigand that just struck it. And our archers are up. We don't have much in the way of open shots here, so... Oh, there we go. Wojtek drops the crossbowman with a well-placed arrow, and then kills the kite shield-wielding brigand as well. Nicely done. Unfortunately, now the rest of our archers will need to move up closer if they want to continue firing into combat. At this point, we really don't need to hang back. Let's go ahead and start moving Bellefontaine up. And Rowan will reload, and he's probably... Oh, actually he has an open shot here. And he puts another bolt through a brigand's arm, shattering the man's morale. Rowan's actually becoming a pretty fair hand with that crossbow. Gilraen is up. He breaks away from his demoralized foe and starts rushing after the fleeing archer instead. Reinhard starts whittling away at his opponent, but he can't quite finish him off. Rondis decapitates the brigand in front of him, then moves over to support Janos, felling another brigand with his dagger. That just leaves us with 2 opponents on the field. Janos moves up to engage one of them, but can't get past... Oh, there we go. Who is that? Looks like Reinhard just finished off the last raider as he was trying to flee. Now we just need to tend to that archer, and looks like he just got pinned down by our war dog. Better late than never. At this point, you know what to expect. Everyone's just going to start converging on that last marksman. It will probably take a round or 2, but considering he's only armed with a basic cudgel, this will be over soon enough. Looks like Gilraen is the first of our brothers to engage. He takes off most of the marksman's armor with his first swipe, then destroys his hood as well. No one else can reach the marksman, so moving into round 5. Hound tears the unfortunate archer's neck open. And the marksman manages to dole out a light wound in return. But Potato's not about to tolerate that, so he quickly drops the marksman with one more shot. No level ups, looks like Wojtek pulls MVP with 4 kills, and just look at all that loot. It's a nice change of pace after taking down all those orcs and goblins. At any rate, let's keep heading south. We should be at Firthwacht before much longer. And welcome back again. We passed through Firthwacht, picked up another war dog, and now here we are in Weedmark. I've gotten all of our injuries treated, and in fact, some of our men have already recovered, which is a pleasant surprise. And fortunately, it turns out that Weedmark has a wide assortment of contracts for us to choose from. We'll start off with an easy one, just to give our men some time to finish recovering. A bird is perched on Hartwig of Weedmark's window. The man, seated, points at it. I wonder if that's how they got in. The brigands, I mean. I think they must have snuck through a window and then right back out. That's how they got away with my golden talisman. The man slowly rises and stalks across the room. He crouches, about ready to pounce on the bird, but the creature scatters before the man can so much as flinch. Damn. He returns to his seat, wiping his hands as if he'd worked up a sweat during his attempted avian ambush. My task is simple, Sellsword. Bring my property back to me. Kill the brigands too, if you wouldn't mind. Well, we're certainly not going to get rich doing a simple job like this, but that'll give us just enough coins to cover our payroll for a day, and like I said, it'll give our men some time to recover. Plus, we'll get whatever loot those brigands happen to be carrying, so we'll go ahead and accept the contract, and let's see if we can run these guys down real quick. There they are. Looks like a fairly small, stereotypical band of brigands, very similar to the group that we took down on the road. Though they are intent on running away from us. Thankfully, they really slowed themselves down crossing over those hills there, so that gives us a chance to catch up with them. Brigands, just as your employer had thought. They look scared, presumably understanding that Hartwig of Weedmark's well-paid wrath is about to descend upon them. And if we're lucky, they'll actually be carrying something we can use. Once again, their marksmen seem to be intent on rushing right up into the open, so let's go ahead and start taking potshots at them. Wrong target, but that took off half his armor. No luck with Bunny. And here comes a pikeman. That guy might actually be a problem. We'll need to take him down quick. But first let's see if we can finish off this archer. Potato just put an arrow through his hand. And Mark put an arrow through his kidney. Rowan is up. No luck this time, though. Now Oswald is up. I guess we can move up and engage these guys. He immediately goes for the pikemen. But can't land a hit. Henry steps up and lashes out at the brigands' front line, but also misses. Dominic will hold back for the moment. We do still have that crossbowman over there. But Reinhard's going to rush up and lock down their north line. Gilraen steps up to engage, leaving room for Rondis. And he does a little armor damage. Now Rondis moves in, promptly putting his dagger through the pikeman's hand, and then piercing the brigand's chest as well. Janos leaps forward, engaging 3 foes at once. plunging his dagger through a brigand's foot. And round 2. There's that crossbowman, though thankfully he missed. Gilraen takes a very light hit to his armor. Fox takes aim. And finishes off one of the enemy marksmen, then sinks another arrow into a well-armored raider. Bunny will step up and fire through the ranks. She takes a chunk out of the pikeman's armor, then quickly backs out of his reach. Janos took a couple of very light armor hits there. Now, I guess we'll have Potato move up and fire through the ranks as well. And he finishes off the enemy pikeman, so he can actually stay right where he is. Mark moves up, fires through the ranks, and puts an arrow through a brigand's shoulder. Rowan moves up as well. But he still can't land a shot. Neither can Henry. Dominic moves in, plugging a gap in our line. He takes off a chunk of an enemy's armor. Then follows up by slipping his dagger into the man's heart. Oswald leaps up in front of Dominic, devastating the enemy's morale. And he takes a small chunk out of the crossbowman's armor. Reinhard continues whittling away at his foe's armor as well. Gilraen manages to pierce a brigand's chest with his dagger. And Rhonda steps up, maneuvering to attack multiple foes with one great swing. But he misses everyone. All but one of the enemies are broken at this point, so really, it's just cleanup now. Janos puts a dagger into a brigand's side. And I think we're pretty much done for the round, so moving into round 3. Bunny doesn't have an open shot, so she'll just jump up on this elevated terrain. Fox will move up and fire through the ranks, but he can't land the shot. Rowan reloads and takes a shot as well. Still no luck there. Mark fires through the ranks, badly wounds and then kills a brigand. Henry lashes out, but still can't land a hit. Potato sinks an arrow into the last fighting bandit. Oswald doles out 2 crippling wounds on his own foe. Then Dominic leapfrogs over him, finishing off the badly wounded brigand. Reinhard is up. His first spear thrust meets his foe's shield, but the second strikes true. And Rondus is up, decapitating one brigand and then moving up to engage the other. Let's see if Gilraen can finish things here. Gilraen's actually pretty tired out. Yeah, he's now exhausted. Alright, well, we'll just have everyone else converge on this one remaining brigand. This guy's done fighting back at this point anyway. Moving into round 4. Let's see who gets the honor of doling out the final strike here. The sergeant finally lands a hit, piercing the brigand's shoulder. And Potato lands the last hit. Well done. No level ups, and it looks like Potato and Dominic are tied for MVP. And we got a fair amount of loot. In fact, I think we can actually use that pike, and we might be able to use those basic mail shirts. I'll have to check our inventory. But, either way... Oh. The battle over, you retrieve the golden talisman from the wasted clutches of your enemies, and prepare to return to Hartwig of Weedsmark. He will surely be happy to see of your success. Alright, let's head back to Weedsmark, but we're actually pretty close to Gronenfest, so let's go check out their marketplace before we head back. And we're back again. Now here we are outside of Gronenfest, again, Although I didn't show it, we actually visited Gronenfest, then headed back to Weedmark, turned in our contract, and picked up a new patrol contract, which asked us to head right back to Gronenfest. So here we are, and it looks like we're actually about to run into a group of 17 Goblin Wolf Riders. You may also notice that we're practically bankrupt, which is part of why I took on the contract. But that's because, while we were visiting Gronenfest the first time, we found this beauty, Sir Erlin's Beheader, our first unique great weapon. It's not tremendously better than a normal greatsword, but it does have superior armor and shield penetration, so hopefully it'll be worth the massive expense. It also leaves us with a spare greatsword. I'm going to have to put some thought into exactly who gets that. It's going to have to be someone who has high enough defenses to survive without a shield, and high enough stamina to both carry a greatsword but also wear the heavy armor they'll need to survive. That said, let's get in there and see what kind of damage this thing can do. Now this is, of course, an intimidatingly large pack of wolf riders, but we've handled these kinds of odds a couple of times now. I'm not too worried. As long as we can keep their flanking under control, we shouldn't have any real problem. As usual, about a third of their number are rushing our front line, and then the rest of them are splitting up to the north and south. It actually looks like a fairly even split this time around. Yeah. But they're actually coming in at such a wide angle, it looks like it's going to take them at least 2 turns to reach our archers, so that gives us plenty of time to do some damage to them. Speaking of which, our archers are up. Let's start firing at the flankers. Wojtek puts an arrow into a rider's chest and through his hand. Alessandro follows up by taking a few more quick shots, but he can't land any hits. Fox targets the riders on our south flank, puts an arrow through a rider's arm. And Bunny also fires at the goblin riders on our south, putting an arrow right through a rider's face. Henry quickly swaps off to his shield. Vlad lashes out with his pike, piercing a rider's shoulder. Roderick grabs for his warbrand and lays into the foes in front of him. He cuts deep into a rider's chest, exposing his ribcage. Igot is facing 2 foes as well, and I guess we'll go all or nothing here. He grabs for his great axe, but he can't land the hit. Reinhard is up. He puts his spear through a rider's knee. Chiron is up. He trims off his opponent's armor. Rondis is up, and he's already got his greatsword ready, which he swiftly uses to slaughter the wolf and rider in front of him. Janos pierces a rider's side, but can't land a follow-up hit. And Vlad grabs his shield as well. I think we're ready to move into round 2. Here come the wolf riders on our flanks. One's already engaged Vlad, so it's a good thing I had him grab his shield. There's another one on Henry. Roderick just took a couple of light hits, but nothing to worry about just yet. Fortunately, just as I predicted, it is indeed going to take them another full round to reach our archers. Unfortunately, it looks like Roderick just lost half his armor and half his health, so we're going to need to put him back on the defensive. Thankfully, he's flanked by both Igot and Rondis, so they can help him clear those foes. Our archers are up. Bunny drops a rider with her first arrow, kills a wolf with her second, and sinks the third arrow through another rider's leg. Wojtek puts an arrow into one of the riders on our north. Alessandro continues firing in that direction, putting an arrow through a rider's leg. And Fox. I guess Fox will focus on the south. He puts an arrow in a rider's chest, but it's not enough to stop him. Henry doles out a barrage of dagger strikes, hacking up his foe. Vlad draws his dagger as well, piercing his opponent's chest and then his opponent's foot, and then he kills the rider's wolf. He's got enough to make another strike, but he's already getting pretty close to exhausted here. Reinhard fends off 2 other wolf riders. Now Igot's up. He decapitates one rider, but can't hit the rider's wolf. Now Roderick's up. He lashes out with his war brand, slicing open a goblin rider's neck. Then he finishes off a wolf and quickly switches back off to his shield and dagger. Reinhard, surrounded on 3 sides, starts lashing out in every direction. He puts down one of the enemy wolves. And on the south side, Kazarin puts his spear through a rider's... On the south side, Kazarin handily dispatches a wolf and rider. Meanwhile, Rondis takes some of the pressure off Roderick by decapitating another goblin. Then he hops the line to protect our archers. Janos follows his example on the north, leapfrogging Vlad and handily dispatching a goblin skirmisher, before stepping back to cover the archers from that angle as well. Round 3. And frustrated by our adaptive defense, it looks like the rest of the riders are just rushing in to engage. I can certainly live with that. I much prefer a stand-up fight. Though we do still have that one rider who's ducked behind that rock over there. Not sure what he's up to. Looks like our archers are up, so now they can just start firing through our ranks. Wojtek puts an arrow through a rider's hand. Alessandro finishes off a wolf. Fox puts an arrow through a rider's throat. Bunny kills a wolf, and then swiftly follows up by killing the rider as well. Though another wolf rider quickly fills the gap, doling out a nasty wound to our sergeant. Henry Baggins swiftly counterattacks, putting his dagger through the rider's hand. Igot decapitates the rider, menacing Roderick. And then Roderick quickly finishes off the wolf as well. Injured but certainly not out, Roderick then leapfrogs Igot and plunges his dagger into another rider's chest. Reinhard continues lashing out, felling a goblin skirmisher. And another wolf, nicely done. Rondis, meanwhile, buys himself some room to maneuver. He shield bashes a rider away from the archers, then moves up to re-engage and plunges his dagger into the rider's kidney. Vlad, menaced on 2 sides, plunges his dagger through a rider's hand, then lashes his dagger into another rider's chest. Kazarin, seeing the sergeant in danger, quickly moves up to support, and drops both the wolf and the rider. Janos, menaced by 2 foes, plunges his blade into one of the rider's shoulders, then follows up by killing the rider's wolf. But he can't quite finish off the rider. That was definitely a very fruitful turn for us. And moving into round 4. We've got some scattered attacks here, but at this point I think we pretty much won. Yeah, in fact, there goes that last wolf rider. Looks like he'll be the lone survivor of this goblin war party. We've got some light armor hits there. Wojtek finishes off a rider. Then follows up by taking down a wolf, and a second wolf, 3 foes in a single turn. Fox moves up, puts an arrow through another rider's hand. Alessandro steps up behind Janos and swiftly drops another rider. And Bunny. Bunny moves up behind Rondus. Then she... Oh, okay. Well, she fills both a wolf and a rider. I Got moves up, crushing another skirmisher into the ground. Roderick follows closely behind him, felling another skirmisher with his dagger. And that just leaves us with one more foe, so let's go ahead and start converging on the last rider. Reinhard's up. And he trims down the rider's armor, but someone else will have to finish the job. Vlad follows up with a couple of quick dagger strikes, but he's too exhausted to dole out a killing blow. Now Janos moves in, readies his great hammer, and... ooh, he's actually too exhausted to take a swing with it. And there we go. Alessandro steps up, somehow killing both the wolf and rider with a single shot. Our sergeant hits level 12. Vlad Kapesh hits level 11. Congratulations. And it looks like undisputed MVP goes to Bunny with a whopping 6 kills. Nicely done. Though Kazarin's a distant second with 4 kills, and we've got a lot of brothers with 3. And of course, the loot is just as mediocre as we've come to expect from goblins. But the important thing is that netted us 15 heads for the head bag, and we've finished the first leg of our patrol, so let's sell off this loot in Gronenfest, grab a round of drinks for the men, and we'll pick up here next time. Hey, RetconRaider here. It's nice to know that we can still have a nice, easy session every once in a while. Today the raiders got to bulldoze their way through a few simple fights, scrounged up a decent amount of loot, and even found another couple of named items, though we did have to pay for them. All in all, not a bad day. Of course, now that all of our brothers have recovered from their recent injuries, it's time to start pushing ourselves again. Next week we'll be continuing our current patrol contract, and after that I'd like to pick up where we left off during the Greenskin invasion, and focus on improving our reputation in both Weedmark and Gronenfest. Both towns have some pretty nice specialty shops, and as our reputation goes up, the prices will come down, which will allow us to start purchasing some better gear for our men. That will also let us continue building up our reputation with a local noble family, which in turn will let us finish our current ambition. While it's not the most exciting work, hunting down brigands and patrolling the roads will help us refill our coffers and prepare for the days ahead. After all, we may have put an end to the Greenskin invasion, but who knows how long it will be before the raiders find themselves once again facing a potentially world-ending threat. This is RetconRaider, signing off. Thanks for watching. Oh, and remember, although I do love playing Battle Brothers, you can find out more about the game by visiting the official website or the FanRun Wiki. Links are in the description.